So today we're gonna go over how to learn how to skate a spine easy, or at least the easiest way. Because there are a few different ways you can approach this. Because don't get me wrong, this thing's kind of sketchy. But before we start going over it, let's go over a few things. All right, so the first way I suggest you going over a spine is gonna be doing the rock and roll. And let's call this the rock way, I guess. I mean, it kind of rocks. But essentially you're just gonna be going up, kind of like you're gonna be doing a rock to fakie, but then you're gonna be going over to the other side. And before you start doing this, you probably wanna be comfortable with rock to fakie and switch rock. Especially the switch rock. The only reason why is because when you're coming in, you gotta do a switch rock. As for the balancing on top, you're gonna definitely treat this thing like you're skating a flat bar or even a curb. So once you actually get up to the middle point, it's pretty sturdy, so you definitely have time to chill. And a good way to get comfortable stalling this before you go in is just practicing this on a deck of a quarter pipe. So let's go do that. So you can really use any kind of quarter pipe that has a nice flat surface on top. And essentially what we're gonna be doing is riding up to the deck like a rock to fakie, but use that pressure on your nose and lift up forward. So here's what that would look like. All right, so we're gonna approach it rolling up with some speed and we're gonna lift up here. The reason why we're practicing this is just to get that body weight from this side, up here, and then back over. This trick is really like a 3-trick motion because you're rolling up, you're stalling it, and then you gotta roll back in. And right now we're only doing really 2 of those. So once you get comfortable rolling up to the deck and getting on top, the scary part's gonna come next. And of course, that's like the switch rock fakie drop in. But even before we hit the spine, we can still do a little bit of practice. Let me show you. So this is the part where we're gonna practice kind of going into the quarter pipe on the other side. I think this technique will really help you get comfortable. What you're going to do is you're gonna be on top of the deck like this, so we're kind of already in that switch rock, and then we're gonna practice this rolling in. You're up on your rock, you still have to slide in, put pressure on that nose, and make sure you lift in before you go, because you could definitely hang up there, and that's not chill. So you can either just kind of like put your board here and kind of just stall it, put your foot on it, and then just go into the transition. So this other technique we're going to be talking about, we're going to be rolling on the deck, kind of doing our deck check of our switch rock and then rolling in. When you do it this way, it kind of simulates more of the spine because you're actually moving it in motion versus stalling. It's just a little bit more realistic, I guess. Kind of what that would look like. All right, now that we've done the few baby steps, now we can finally go back to the spine and try this. So now that we've done all those other steps, we can now finally take it to the spine. And when I roll up to this trick, I like to keep 1 foot on the tail and 1 foot kind of on the nose, just so I'm already in my foot placement to go up, stall, and over. So I'll show you what that looks like. Going up, stall it, and over. Walk over it. You can definitely go slow to this thing and kind of stall on top and kind of get stuck, but then it kind of is chill to go back in. Like when you actually stand up here and stall up here, it's actually a little bit scarier to like get the weight all the way over. It's a little bit easier when you do it in one quick motion. It's not like you can't do it in a slower motion. It's just when you stall up here, I don't know, it gets a little sketchy feeling, I guess, just because you have to balance. But definitely take your time with this. Just keep practicing your rock to fakie. Just try to roll a little bit over and over just so that board gets a little bit more secure on top. And then just slowly let that thing roll right back in. So this is kind of what it looks like when you go a little bit slower to stall it. Okay, so I feel like the rock and roll over is probably the easiest one to do and learn. The next one I want to talk about is like the roll over, blunt stall, tail stall, drop in. And I'll show you guys what that one looks like. So to build that confidence before we go over the spine, we're gonna go back to the quarter pipe and we're gonna practice some blunts. And we're not gonna be doing blunt fakie. We're literally just gonna do a blunt stall and then go to the top deck. So we're just gonna be doing this. Like that and then like that. So we ain't doing anything too sketchy. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. Going up, put that pressure on the tail and then drop in. That was kind of sketchy, I almost fell back, but you get the idea. And the reason why we're doing this is because when you get up top to the deck and stall blunt like this, it actually puts you in the drop-in position. So literally just practicing getting up into that position and stalling. Once you put your foot down and drop in on the deck, you're literally just dropping in on a quarter pipe. So in that sense, it's pretty chill. I feel like this is actually an easier way to get over a spine than doing like a rock disaster over. I guess the scariest thing about this is just building that confidence to stall over the tail stall on top of the spine. Because obviously up here you got a lot more room to play with, but on the spine you only have that little flat bar. I do want to mention, anytime you are going over a spine, you definitely want to be looking forward and looking to the other side. You almost gotta just trust your legs and let them do what they normally do on a quarter pipe. So especially with this one, when you're rolling up to the blunt stall and doing a tail stall over, you don't wanna be looking down always and like worrying about essentially the spine going on. You gotta trust the feel of your board and your feet. Once you feel those wheels kind of lift up the coping, you just gotta keep that weight on that tail, look forward and drop in. Doing this trick, I'm gonna keep my feet in the drop-in position the whole way I go over. Stall it and drop right in. All right, I just wanna show you the foot placement of when I do a blunt stall over, what it looks like. All right, so those were probably the two easiest ways to stall over a spine. The last way I do want to go over is just airing the spine. Airing the spine is kind of sketchy, just depends on how big of a spine you're playing with. We're gonna practice it the same way though. Before we go over the spine, we're gonna practice launching onto the deck. All right. So this one's just kind of like the fly out technique. We're just gonna be kind of practicing flying out to the top of the deck of this thing right here. When you do practice this, just make sure you're pushing all of your body weight forward. You're gonna be wanting to lean forward a lot, especially once you go over the spine. My feet in the ollie position and just going on that. To get comfortable airing back into the transition, I feel like the best way to do that is learning how to roll in. If you already know how to roll into a quarter pipe, you can definitely just skip this part. But if you don't, you're just gonna be essentially doing a manual and going in. But when you're doing this, you gotta keep all that weight forward so your wheels don't hang up. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. Approach it with a little bit of speed, do a little manual and go on in. But if you're not really comfortable just rolling into a quarter pipe that slowly, definitely hit it with some speed. I mean, roll to flat if you need to get comfortable. Rolling in kind of teaches you how to deal with landing into that transition because it's pretty scary landing into a little whoopty, you know what I mean? We're gonna actually be moving on to airing over the spine. A good way to get comfortable with this is doing a bunch of those tail stalls and kind of grabbing the nose just to kind of get that confidence just to go over a little bit faster, and grabbing the nose will just kind of keep your board secure knowing that it's not going to go anywhere. Another way you can kind of approach this is kind of just airing it not to flat essentially, but you can kind of air it pretty fat so you land down there instead of in the transition. I wouldn't say it's the best way to learn it, but you can do it that way. Other thing you can consider is just doing like a grab trick, like an indie or a melon grab. I personally am not gonna do that. I feel like it's a little sketchy, but if it makes you feel comfortable just knowing that your board is gonna stay on your feet by grabbing it, by all means, do it up. But right now, we're just gonna practice floating over the spine. Show you guys what that looks like. Woo-hoo. So as you can see, like this side is way more mellow, that side's a little bit steeper. So I kind of aired and pretty much went to flat. So I'm gonna actually air from this way into that way just so I have a little bit more transition to land into. This is my feet positioning for just the simple air over it. All right, those were a few different techniques to get over the spine the easiest way. Comment and let me know if you guys have any other ways that you guys get over the spine that I didn't cover. Because once you learn these, you can learn how to do feebles over, 50-50s over. I mean, endless possibilities. But yeah, so I hope that helped. Go skate a spine. Imagine a backflip over that. That'd be so crazy.
Oh!